I say, do you want to go just start talking about the Claypool pick and kind of everything surrounding that?
But like the thing that I found funny about the Chase Claypool pick. So when the pick is initially made, I'm always checking on social media, seeing what people were hating the pick initially.
I know, that's what I was going to bring up.
And I always
people wanted a running back.
Yeah, I always find it funny how people initially knee-jerk reaction. This is terrible, man. We drafted to lose. We're not trying to win. This and that, and that. And then by the end of the weekend, oh man, this was a great draft, man. I loved every pick, man. This guy was awesome, man. I knew we wanted him from the start. I'm like, I never heard one person say Chase Claypool. I'm not even going to sit here and lie.
No, I didn't either.
We had a list of receivers. Yep. We both talked about receivers we wanted.
We didn't. Neither of us brought him up.
Not one draft I saw. Not one mock draft.
Well, there's that, and I think. See, I don't want to excuse myself too much, but I don't think that anyone was really expecting him to fall to us.
True.
I thought he was going to go like late first. But some people probably did. But
when we talked about like the main receivers, he was not a guy that was talked about in the same vein. We talk about the T. Higgins, the Jerry Judys, and all these other guys.
Oh no, definitely not.
He wasn't in that conversation.
He was more in like the Pittman, Mims, right. Rieger.
So when people were talking receivers, this wasn't the name that anybody would ever bring up. And that was the thing that I found funny that, you draft the guy. Initially, everybody hates the pick. They're like, man, this guy was on the board. That guy was on the board. That guy was on the board. And now by the end of the weekend, hey, man, that's a great pick. I love that pick, man. Great pick. Awesome.
All you got to do is hear a few quotes, see a few highlights.
But then they killed me, though. When they first showed the highlights, they weren't even showing him receiving highlights. It was showing him blocking.
It was you knew that had to come up. You knew. It's Pittsburgh.
They just straight showed the blocker highlight. I'm like, what is this? So wait a minute.
I mean, do you get that from any other city? Or
Not at all, Pittsburgh? Man. Say draft the receiver second round. They showed 2 minutes of him just blocking. I was like,
I think it was like his sophomore year too.
And the clips were great. I'm like, yo, what type of video is? I'm like, you went to Notre Dame? You didn't go to Kansas City Community College? Like, what is going on here, bro? Like, this is nuts. You saw the film?
Yeah, I did.
It looked terrible. It was trash. I'm like, bro, what is this shot on, man?
It was filmed on definitely an iPhone, and it was filming the TV. It wasn't like a screen recording.
It was kind of like it was super zoomed in too. Like the dude wasn't just sitting there on the TV. He's like in the back of the room, zoomed in. I'm like, yeah, this is nuts.
It takes you like halfway through the first time seeing it to realize what's going on.
Yes.
Like, was it a blocking thing? Then you got to watch it like 2 or 3 more times. You're like, ah, damn, this is sick.
I mean, it was impressive blocking by him, man. You could just see the mindset. We talk about, well, not even we, but with the Steelers, actually, Coach Tomlin always talks about guys having something dirty about their job. We talk about how for linebackers, right? We're bigger guys. We want to hit and be physical, but the dirty part of our job is having to cover, having to run. We talk about the skill position, the safeties. Man, they want to cover guys, but they got to do the nasty part, which is tackling, putting their face in the fan. So for receivers, they want to catch the ball, but the nasty part of their job is blocking. And he always talk about how you don't want a guy that you have to force to block. You want a guy who's a willing participant, a guy who takes pride in his work, which is why a lot of people love Hines Ward. A lot of people love Juju because they take pride in that element of their game. So when you look at the clip of Chase Claypool, you'll see like, man, this dude is really enjoying like mauling these DBs. And I mean, it was a little clever move how he does a little skip off like he's about to get into a route and then put hands on these guys. And yeah, he's burying them. So I definitely was impressed by that, man. But when they actually did start to show him receiving and catching the ball, I did like his catch radius. I like how he was catching with his hands. We talked about even with Martavis how it was at times where his hands looked a little inconsistent. Whereas with Chase, we haven't seen that, or at least I didn't see it from any of the clips that I saw of him. Everything like he was a good sure-handed catcher. Like I said, could catch it anywhere on his body. Good quarterback-friendly target type guy. Big red zone target guy too. So I thought that was really impressive about him in his game. So I definitely like that element.
Now, one of the criticisms that I'm seeing is that he struggles to create separation.
Correct.
Now, I don't know if I was seeing something else where a scout or some type of analyst was saying that he gets the 4.4 speed.
Yes.
But in game, it's not 4.4. How do you judge that?
No. I mean, so this is a true, and I'm glad because we're going to get on that. Sometimes guys time faster than they play, and sometimes guys play faster than they time. So when we look at Juju timed with a 4.56, I think it was, right? But when Juju plays in the open field, have you ever seen him caught from behind?
No.
And he's getting chased by guys, by 4.4, 4.3 guys. He plays faster than he times. But now you see some guys with Chase who timed at a 4.4. I think it was like 4.42, 4.43, like something crazy. You're like, dude, he's blazing. But when you watch his tape, He doesn't. I mean, if no one said he ran a 4.4, when you watched any of those highlights, would you have said, "Man, I guess that's a 4.4 guy"? No. Not at all. You would think 4.5, 4.6 guy, long strider. But for him,
it looked faster after seeing he ran 4.4.
Right. Because now you start to say, "Well, yeah, maybe that is 4.4." He's like, sometimes with the long stride guys, the guys that are tall like him, it's a deceptive thing. But honestly, I thought the same thing. I don't think he plays at 4.4, and it's not a knock on him. Some guys, it takes more to get into it. And you got to think, too, the difference between a 40 and you actually playing. When you're running the 40, there's no defender in front of you. There's nobody trying to impede your progress. If you're a long stride guy, you're a guy that builds up the speed. So meaning you got some guys who, as soon as their first step goes, they're at top speed. They're the one step and they're gone. Think your Percy Harvins, your Tyreek Hills, the guys just one step and they can go and hit it. Then you got the other guys who are long striders. They need a couple of steps to get going. But once they get going, now they're out. That's more of Juju, right? Mm-hmm. We always talk about how Juju, man, if you press him at the line, sometimes it can get a little muddy for him, right? But once he goes, think San Fran game, he catches it across the middle. Once he goes, he's gone.
Yeah.
And that's what Chase. So if Chase beats you off the line, oh yeah, he has the speed to just take it all the way. But with him being a longer strider guy, he builds up to speed, and that's the difference. So that's why when you talk about a guy timing at one thing but playing at another speed, that's really what's going on right there. He's a build up to speed guy, and what these DBs are able to do, because he's such a bigger frame, it's easier to get hands on him. But he'll develop counters. He'll get way better with his hands working at the NFL level because you get pressed so much at the NFL level. Whereas college, man, a lot of them DBs, man, you might have one or two DBs who can really press man. But other than that, them DBs, they want to bail. They want to give you some cushion because they don't want to get beat over the top. At the college level, them guys, man, it's bombs. You already know it. Everybody taking shots deep. So that's the difference in the style of play from the collegiate level to the NFL level.
Got you. So that's nice to hear. That's like a nice asset to have, to be able to run with it and take off and beat defenders like that. But then also have that Des Bryant / Calvin Johnson ability to where we just throw it up. And
that's the thing that I love the most.
Right.
He's a combat catch guy. In terms of, when we talk about combat catch, he can catch in a crowd. If a defender's draped on him, he can go high point the ball. He can back shoulder it. If you're not a guy who creates a ton of separation, you have to be elite combat catching. Otherwise, you're never going to get a pass because you're not going to be able to get open and you're not going to be able to make those type of grabs. Now, if you're a guy who creates separation right away, well, it doesn't matter because you're usually going to have 2 to 3 yards of space in between. But if you don't create that separation, you better be great in those combat catches, the point of attack, finding ways to get it. Think Heath Miller late in his career. He wasn't separating from anybody, but you knew he was going to find a way to put his body in position to catch that ball, and he was going to be short-handed. Even Gronk. Think about Rob Gronkowski. He's another guy. He wasn't creating a ton of separation at the end of his career, but he knew how to basketball you, meaning like I'm going to box you up, put my body over here, whatever it may be, but I'm going to catch everything I need to in that close, tight quarters. And that's the thing that Chase does bring to the table. So once he learns to get better in terms of creating that separation early, that's just going to help him excel. But the thing that's going to get him by before he gets to that level is the fact that he can make those combat catches.
No, for sure. Now, do you hear any of the frustrations or complaints of, oh, we should have taken Dobbins? I think Cam Akers was on the board still too.
Cam Akers, Dobbins was on the board.
In terms of other receivers, it was really just Mims, I think, in that class.
Because Regal was already gone. Right?
He was gone. Yeah, he was in the first round.
Yeah.
Jefferson was gone.
Who's another receiver I'm forgetting?
Pittman was gone. Hamler was gone.
Yeah, because KJ went a couple picks before he went to Denver.
Yeah. There was a big run on those receivers. I think it was Mims. I have it written down. I could check real quick, but there was probably like 3 or 4 guys, but the big one that Dobbins. I was hearing was Dobbins. Yes, people were complaining about that.
We take Chase, and then right after us, the Ravens take Dobbins, and I think this is the thing that I find funny when it comes to the draft, right? Everybody wanted Dobbins. Everybody wanted one of these running backs between Dobbins, Taylor, Swift.
Yeah.
And when Dobbins was on the board and we passed on him for Chase, people went nuts. Then when Dobbins goes to the Ravens, it instantly becomes, Dobbins not even like that, man. He's not good. Look at the scheme he was in. It instantly became, we're going to bash Dobbins to make ourselves feel better and try to justify us picking Chase. I'm like, man, if he goes to us, y'all are praising this guy, talking about it's the great pick, this and this and this. But now because he's in the division with a rival, now all of a sudden he's a bad player. Like, cut it out, man. Like, it's not his fault that we passed on him. That's just how it goes sometimes. And we talked about this prior to the draft. We said it's really going to come down to what the team prioritizes more between the receiver position and the running back room.
Or even outside linebacker.
Right, and even outside linebacker. And we said that, hey, man, they could be looking at the receiver room saying, you know what? We're confident in Juju, but at the same time, contract situation wise, we don't know if he's going to be here in the long haul. We know we would love to do business with him, but there's no guarantee that that's going to get done. So they could draft a guy then. We said with James Conner, they could say, man, we're banking on James being healthy. We're banking on Benny Snell. We don't put that running back room as the bigger priority right now. We talked about outside linebacker, similar situation to receiving room. Man, are we going to be able to get a deal done with Bud Dupree for the long term? If not, we might need to get a person for him. And you saw that's how they kind of attacked it in terms of how they prioritized their drafting.
And I just checked. Uche was on the board too, outside linebacker from Michigan. So that could have been another, I guess, complaint or whatever. Whatever with that pick. But I like the pick, and I think it just came down to weighing the options, like you said, of what do we like in terms of receiver, running back, outside linebacker, just those positions in general.
Who's more priority?
But then also, like, say you did have running back a little bit over receiver and outside linebacker. If you really liked one receiver over one of the Dobbins or one Akers that was left, you're going to take the receiver then, just because you really like that and you believe in his talent.
And the one thing, too, that you're saying that we don't necessarily know how, because we'll see in terms of the NFL putting out their rankings of players. Everybody has a ranking of this player is better than that player in terms of the big board, right? Not by position. So the Steelers could have had Chase Claypool rated as a better prospect than a J.K. Dobbins. We won't know that. Only people that know that are the scouts and the people that are in the building. But they could have had Chase rated just slightly higher. So both of those guys are on the board. Both are positions of need. They say, well, here we're going to go with the guy that we got rated higher. And that could have been a part of that whole process as well. So it's a lot that goes into it. I know us as fans, sometimes we look at it and just say, well, this guy was more of a known name coming out of college. This guy was more electric. Why don't we just take this guy? But for the teams, when they really break down these guys' snaps, they're not breaking down highlights. They're breaking down every play that these guys play in. So they're going plus minus, and seeing, okay, did he have just 2 great plays and then a ton of bad plays in this game? Was he taking plays off? Like, we don't know that. The scouts do, though. So that all goes into how they rank these guys and why they make the moves that they make.
Well, I thought you brought up a good point whenever you were talking about just in general, what do they prioritize more, running back versus receivers with the season coming up, and like what type of system they're going to be running. Because think, with Ben coming back, what if we value the running back as more of an interchangeable thing? Because we saw whenever we had AB and those receivers in place,
it made it a lot easier.
Whenever Connor came in, the production was same when Bell was gone, and whenever Connor went down, Samuel was able to produce. So what if they're kind of thinking that way? If we can bolster up our receivers again, it will make it easier on the running backs in case we do have some injuries.
I thought that's a great point. And then also the style of receiver. Not a smaller, scatty, quicker receiver, a big body receiver. Not even necessarily take the top off, but when we're talking about blocking for the running game. A lot of those big runs that you would see, anytime you see, like, we call them an explosive run, right? 10, 15 yards plus. That happens because you have receivers blocking. Because the receivers are the ones who are going to block the corners and the safeties. They're going to get you to that second level and be free. The O-line, they do the initial work. They get you those 3 to 5 yards. But for it to be an explosive run, those receivers got to be down there getting on somebody. So you look at the mentality of a Chase Claypool when he's blocking. That plays into that as well, that nastiness, that physicality that you want to set across the board. So I think that's another element of it, too, when you're talking about them potentially wanting to focus more on getting back to running the ball. I understand that, hey, man, we need better weapons outside, but we also need more physical guys outside, guys who aren't small. Like Deontay Johnson, for example, he is a speedy receiver, right? But he's not the mauling type blocker that you see in Juju, that you see in this guy Chase. So that could be something they thought of, like, hey, man, we need to get a bigger body person to help with that element.
Plus Vance, plus Ebron. This could be lethal, dude. Do you want to give like a grade on the pick or something like that?
Yeah, man, go ahead, man. What you say?
I just solid A.
That doesn't surprise that you would say A. Jeez.
Why? What's wrong with A? Who else were you picking?
That does not surprise.
That's a solid A.
Leave it to Deke. I should have known. I don't even know why I flirted with the idea.
Wait, who else were you gonna pick?
I'm just saying. You're funny, bro.
Who else were you picking? How is that not just a solid A?
All right, bro. Hey, it's your grade, man. You good, bro?
What's your grade?
I'm giving it a B.
What? Why B?
Because I personally would have liked to have Dobbins instead. That's
Really? Yeah. See, you didn't say that at first, though.
What do you mean? You said grade the pick. It's a B. He addresses everything that you need addressed. For me, I'm not enamored with the 4.4 speed because when I watch the tape, he doesn't play at 4.4. So I don't factor that in. I'm like, I've seen guys that tested at 4.7, but they play at 4.4. I've seen guys that ran 4.4 and play at 4.6. So for me, like, that doesn't move the needle for me. When I look at the tape, I say, okay, I don't see 4.4 speed. I'm not seeing him pulling away from guys. I'm not seeing him creating a ton of separation. Does he block well? Absolutely. I love that. Does he have combat catching? Absolutely. I love that too. But does he tell, like, when I look at this pick, for me to say it's an A, that would mean like, hey man, if Juju were to go down, this guy is ready to go right now. I'm not concerned at all. I don't feel that way right now.
I don't think you would have gotten that from anyone in the second round.
Well, we don't know.